Hey, Peter,
Yes.
how much do you let the bass player solo in your trio?
If his name is Carlos Enriquez, none.
I'm Adam Maness,
And I'm Peter Martin.
and you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily Jazz Advice coming at you.
Coming at you from the second week of 2019. I don't know. I
No.
should stop just like...
I think it's the first week still.
No, it's the second week.
No, it's the first.
It's Monday, buddy.
Oh, it's Monday already?
Yes.
Oh, welcome to week number 2 of our third season.
Kid is lost in the clouds over here.
I am.
So we have a speak pipe. We have a voicemail from Patrick.
Speak pipe.
And let's check it out.
Okay.
Hey, Peter and Adam. This is Patrick from Cincinnati. I dropped a few questions earlier this year, a while ago by now, actually. But I thought I would drop another one in the old speak pipe before 2018 ends. I've been digging on a ton of the Scott LaFaro era Bill Evans trio as of late, and it's got me thinking about how the trio is a unique ensemble and how it's different than playing with really any other kind of group for a pianist or a guitarist, which I am. So I just wanted to hear how you guys approach trio playing in terms of interaction, composition, arranging, improv, all that stuff in the trio setting. But yeah. Thanks in advance.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for dropping that questions. I think this might be one of our younger listeners because he's dropping questions.
Dropping questions
I
all
like
day
it.
long.
That's right.
And he noted that it was quite a while ago when he left other questions. And that's how long we've been on the air now, buddy. We're coming up on our year anniversary soon.
I know.
Yeah.
What is 1 year? Is it paper or silver? I can't remember. I'm gonna get
I
you
think
something.
I think it's for this podcast. It's iced coffee.
That's right. So yeah, that's a great question. So Patrick is a guitarist, and well, why don't we start there? Is there a difference between trio playing with the? I guess we're talking guitar, bass, drums versus piano, bass, drums. There probably is.
There probably is, but not huge.
Yeah.
I think actually trio playing, as long as it's a chordal instrument, there's definitely similarities. But even if it's like tenor bass, tenor saxophone, bass drums,
Yeah.
there's still some similarities that happen. I love a trio. We both have our own trios that we play with regularly, and it's one of the more fun ensembles you can be a part of.
It is, and I do think that the instrumentation, certainly the classic piano trio, classic guitar trio, I think it's more about the number of players. Because I'm even thinking about like in classical music, chamber music. I've had a little bit of opportunity years ago to play in some trios and also quartets, even when I was doing violin. But the trio is kind of a unique thing. Duos, of course, wonderful solos, but the trio, maybe it is kind of a magical number of 3, right?
I think especially with with the piano or the guitar, there's so much that we can do as the chordal instruments. I mean, it really becomes. I think it's one of the more fun ensembles that a chordal instrument could play in because we get to do everything we can do.
Yeah.
From solo playing to for intros and outros and interludes and stuff like that to voicing chords one way and melodies the other to accompanying the bass solo, the drum solo, stuff like that.
Yep.
I mean, it really is. You get to do everything.
Right.
So it's really a fun thing.
Yeah, and I think talking about the interaction, I know he mentioned that in a trio, you have this great thing where you kind of have 3 duos almost from an interactive standpoint.
That's right.
So the different combinations of 2. So with a piano, bass, and drums, you're always looking at the bass drum kind of rhythm section foundation and the way that they interact, play together, swing, improv, and all those different things. That relationship is always existing. But then the piano and bass has its very interesting relationship and interaction, in terms of harmonic foundation and many things. And then of course the piano and the drums.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool kind of it's almost like the ideal number of people maybe to be having simultaneous kind of conversations without going crazy.
Well, it's so interesting that you brought that up. I've never thought about it like that, but it really is, and that's such a cool way to think about it. It's like 3 different duos, because I'm thinking like for the piano and the bass, because there's no other melodic soloists that can be a part of that, they can really be flexible with substitutions or any kind of alterations to the changes or the melody and be very quick with it.
Yep.
More so than you can be with you know, if you're backing a saxophone player, then all three of those people have to be in sync at the same time. But you can be really light on your feet with piano and bass like that.
Yeah.
And then with the piano and the drums, you know, in the trio situation, the bass usually gets more opportunity to be a soloist than they do in almost every other situation.
Right.
And so the piano and the drums get to be an accompanist on their own more than they do, you know, if you're in a quintet, most of the accompanying is going to be done with piano, bass, and drums, or guitar, bass, and drums.
Right.
But because the bass is the secondary, or sometimes the lead soloist, the piano and the drums have to be more in tune to be able to accompany with just that configuration.
Yep.
Really, really interesting stuff to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, the classic, the bass and the drums, no matter what we're doing, they you know, no matter what the configuration, they have to be locked into each other.
Right.
Yeah, very cool.
So from another thing that I think Patrick mentioned was about arranging for the trio. And, you know, a few days ago, we delved a little bit into Ahmad Jamal, that great version, the great arrangement on No Greater Love.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of elements in that exist in a lot of Ahmad Jamal's arrangements. And that's just kind of one style, but it's a very influential style, of course, on a whole generation, several generations now of pianists on trio playing. And like what's your concept in general on arranging for a trio? I know you do a lot of arranging, and we're always thinking about arranging for bigger ensembles. But you've been doing a lot of trio playing lately.
Yeah, I mean, the first concept that I think of, and I know you do this as well, is for the piano, for arranging for the trio, I really think of it as three different voices I can use. You know, my low voice, my mid voice, and my treble voice. You know, and I have those options available to me to arrange with the bass. And the drums in any configuration. So, for example, you know, the classic is to have the chords in the left hand and the melody or the solo in the right hand, and arrange something for that left hand and the bass to do together. Yeah. You know, whether that's a unison line or some kind of harmony or some kind of hits. You know, we were listening to that Ahmad Jamal and a lot of those dun dun dun. Yep. But then there's also things you can do where you maybe have the bass up with, you know, your right hand or your treble voice, and your left hand is providing some other kind of line or accompaniment.
A little counter melody.
A little counter melody. Yep. That's the advantage we have as pianists, maybe more so than guitarists, although they can do this a little bit if the voicing is right, if you're writing the arrangement.
Or if you're Stanley Jordan.
If you're Stanley Jordan, you can do it. I mean, Charlie Hunter, you got it all by yourself,
So those of you on YouTube could see what Adam was just doing with his hands, but if you're listening to this podcast, I'll just describe it a little bit, because he was doing piano hands, not to be confused with jazz hands. Very different.
Very different. Yeah. So
he's like piano, he's laying it out.
Yeah. You have basically the three zones of the piano, which we've talked about before, which is like the low zone is your left hand and really the bottom part of your left hand. The middle zone is like the middle of both of your hands. Yeah. That can be their own voice combined. And then the high zone is the right hand. Now that's like the most elaborate you're going to get. Usually it's going to be one hand or the other. And a lot of times it's just going to be you're just piano part playing both hands together.
What about the blue zone? How does that, you know, the Mediterranean diet blue zone, does that fit into those?
Yeah, no, it's good for a healthier, longer life.
Right. And what about the keto zone? Are you in keto zone when you're in those three zone?
Bro, I'm always in keto zone. But one thing I will say that is really crucial to piano trio arranging, and I think any trio arranging, is dynamics. The dynamics of a piano trio, I think, really determine, you know, how good the arrangement is. You know, and you have all this huge headroom, low and high. So yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Patrick, for the question. Thank you for the speak pipe. You can always hit us up at you'llhearit.com for all things You'll Hear It, really.
That's right.
Swag.
Yep.
Swag. Ask a question, make a comment.
7-star review.
7-star review. This will lead you to the promised land to do that. And if you go to our YouTube channel and leave a comment about today's episode, let us know what you think about trio playing, any ideas you have on that.
Please do.
And until tomorrow,
you will hear it.